And we are back with Chapter 3 of Many Waters. We've learned some stuff about Yalith. She has 3 brothers, Japheth, Ham, and Sheb, who you may recognize as the sons of Noah. And they have their 3 wives. There is Anna, who is very attractive, but is kind of getting fat and sedate. There is Elisheba, and finally there is Oholibama, who is Japheth's wife. And Noah went out into the desert and found her. She's from another tribe, and there is some question about whether or not she is a member of the Nephilim, or the child of a regular human and a Nephilim combined. Well, she and Yalith are very good friends. They like to go for walks together, and they kind of left Mala, Yalith's other sister, who's going to marry a Nephilim, out, and we'll pick up there. Now in the warm and noisy tent, Oholibama beckoned to Yalith. "Have you eaten?" "No," Yalith shook her head. "I meant to eat with grandfather, but I forgot all about food because there was a strange young..." Ham interrupted her, calling out from the pile of skins on which he was reclining. "I have a headache, Oholi. I need you," Oholibama said sharply. "Then let Anna rub your head. She is your wife. Her fingers do not have the touch that yours do," and indeed Oholibama had a reputation for having healing in her fingers. She was still sharp. "If you don't want a headache, don't eat and drink too much." She turned away and went to the cook-pot, ladled out some stew into a wooden bowl, and handed it to Yalith, the mammoth, left matred, and came and nudged Yalith's knee. "No, Selah," Yalith scolded. "You know I won't give you anything more to eat. You're getting fat." She deftly picked up pieces of meat and vegetables from the bowl and ate them, then raised it to her lips to drink the broth. It tasted wonderful, and she realized that she was very hungry. Beside her, Oholibama sighed. "What's the matter?" Yalith asked. The mammoth moved to the older girl, who scratched its gray head. "I was walking through the town this morning. We needed some provisions. One of the Nephilim came out of one of the bathhouses, smelling of oil and spices, and stood in my path." She paused. "And?" Yalith prodded. "He said that I was one of them, one of their daughters." Yalith glanced at her mother, then back at Oholibama. Thought of Eblis and his glorious purple wings. "Would that be so terrible?" "It is absurd. I love my parents. I love my father." Yalith had never seen Oholibama's parents. And how would she herself feel if someone suggested that her father was not in fact her father? But now that Matred had put the thought in her mind, it was easy to believe that Oholibama had been sired by a Nephil. She had the gift of healing. Ham was right about that. Her voice, when she sang, was beautiful as a bird's. She saw things no one else saw. But then, Yalith reminded herself, she too was different, the 7th child of her parents, and she knew quite well who her parents were, and that they had been disappointed when they had had a 4th daughter instead of a 4th son. "Did you hear me saying that Mala is betrothed to a Nephil?" she asked Oholibama. "Yes, I heard. Malith likes pretty things. The wives of the Nephilim live in houses of stone and clay, not in tents. I'm sure Mala feels proud to have been chosen." "What do you think about it?" Yalith asked. I'm not sure what I think about the Nephilim, especially if..." She broke off. "And the Seraphim?" Yalith asked. "I'm not sure what I think about them either." Oholibama pressed her fingers against her ears as Ham started to shout. For a small man, he had a powerful voice. "Selah, come here. If Oholibama won't help me, then I need a unicorn." Anna said crossly. "You know a unicorn can't come near you." "It doesn't have to come near," Ham grunted. "They can cast their light from any distance. It's the only light I need," Anna muttered. "You need more than that." "Yalith, you can call a unicorn. Or Selah, call me a unicorn." A sudden flash of light made them all blink. It was as though lightning had somehow managed to get inside the heavy hides of the tent, perhaps flashing down through the roof hole. "Get away!" Ham cried. "Who are you?" He was not referring to the unicorn, which stood glimmering in the tent. On the skins, right of Ham, lay a very young man, with raw, sunburned skin and eyes glazed with fever. Matred peered down at the boy. How did he get here? Ham, is he a friend of yours? Ham looked totally bewildered. I've never seen him before. What is he? Shem demanded. The patriarch, who had been chewing on a mutton bone, looked at the boy. Another kind of giant, he said disgustedly. Oholibama said, Whoever he is, give him air. Don't crowd around. Look, he has sun fever. Oh my, he looks terrible. Elishaba, Shem's wife, peered at the boy. If he's a giant, he's a very young one. Yalith managed to push between Matrid and Oholibama so that she could see. She shrieked, It's my young giant! What's that, daughter? Matrid asked. You've seen him before? In grandfather's tent, when I took him his nightlight. The patriarch scowled. If my father Lamech doesn't want a giant in his tent, why should I have him in mine? Oh, please, father, Yalith begged. You've really seen him before? Oholibama asked. When I brought grandfather Lamech his nightlight, Yalith repeated. There was this young sunburned giant in the tent. She looked at the fevered young man. I'm not sure this is... Where's Japheth? The tent flap was pushed aside and Japheth came in. Why, here I am, looking for a unicorn and... Sella raised her trunk and trumpeted. Why? Japheth explained. I've been looking all over the oasis, and there's one right here. And so is the den. The one I have been looking for. He dropped to his knees. Great Ark, is he alive? Oholibama ordered. Move back, all of you. She put her hand against Denny's bare chest. He's alive, but he's burning with fever. Anna moved back slightly, pushing her red hair away from her face with a dirty hand. Is he a seraph or a nephil? Yala shook her head. He doesn't have wings. Oh, Japheth, I'm glad you're back. He's the other one, isn't he? The one you're looking for. Yes, Japheth said, but he looks burned nearly to death. Oholibama pressed her hand against the reddened forehead, wincing at the heat of it. Turning to look for the unicorn, who was almost dimmed out of being. Unicorn, can you help? The unicorn's outline sharpened and it bent toward the flushed boy, and light flowed from its forehead, cooling the burning skin. Ham pushed up from his pelts and blundered toward the unicorn. Me! I need help! I feel sick! Help me! His fair hair was stringy with sweat. The even lighter hair on his chest held drops of moisture. Again there was a flash of light, and when they could see again, the unicorn had disappeared. Idiot! Anna's green eyes sparkled. You know you can't get near a unicorn. Meanwhile, the patriarch said, how are we going to get rid of this half-baked giant? My dear, Matrid protested. Surely we should show him some hospitality. My good father Lamech evidently threw him out of his tent, her husband retorted. No, father, Yalith protested. You don't understand. There are 2 giants, and grandfather has the other one in his tent and is taking care of him. I don't know what you're talking about, her father said. How could there be 2 of these peculiar giants? Oh, father, if only you'd go to see grandfather Lamech. I will have nothing to do with coddling the old man or his strange giants. We have enough troubles without sick giants being added to them. Yalith knelt beside Oholibama and looked at the boy, who lay breathing shallowly, eyelids twitching slightly. Yalith reached out a tentative finger and touched the boy's flushed cheek. You're not Sand. You're his brother? The reddened eyelids opened slightly. Denny's. Then the boy flung his arm over his face, as though to ward off a blow. His limbs began to shake convulsively. What happened? Japheth demanded. Somebody's hurt him, and he doesn't recognize me. He's afraid. Elishaba's voice was shocked. Shem protested. Surely grandfather Lamech couldn't have hit him. Never, Japheth defended swiftly. Not grandfather. Yalith spoke at the same time. His skin is rubbed raw, Oholibama exclaimed. Someone between grandfather Lamech's tent and here has hurt him. Matrid bent close, asking softly, Who could have done this, even to a deformed giant? Japheth asked, Denny's? Denny's, the boy moaned. Where have you been? Did someone call you when the unicorn back into being? Who was it? Oholibama touched her husband's hand. Seleth called the unicorn, and suddenly this wounded giant was here. But he's been somewhere else on the oasis. Japheth took his wife's hand and pressed it against his cheek. and he has been abused. He's barely conscious. This is terrible. Anna peered over Yalith's shoulder. Are you sure he's human? Japheth frowned. They said they're twins, but I think twins are human. The patriarch muttered, What with the winged creatures around, sleeping with the daughters of men, it is hard to know anymore who is human and who is not. He looked at Oholibama, but not unkindly. Oholibama touched Denny's forehead again, and he opened his eyes and flinched. Shh, I will not hurt you. She looked at Yalith and Japheth. The unicorn's horn has taken away some of the fever, but he is still very hot. Was it this bad when you saw him, Japheth? Japheth shook his head. He was sun-sick, worse than the sand, but not like this, the patriarch asked. You say there are two of these giants. Two, exactly alike. I left the one called Sand in Grandfather Lamech's tent. He looked rather defensively at his father. To go look for this one, and then to my surprise, when I'd given up for the night, he was here, right in our own home tent. Ham shrugged. We've never seen two look-alikes. We should send someone to Grandfather Lamech's tent to make sure there's another one. You doubt me? Japheth demanded. We just want to make sure, Ham said. Less hotly, Japheth said. I found it difficult to believe at first myself. Cutting across their conversation, Oholibama said, We should bathe him with water, try to keep him cool and moist. Water! Matred exclaimed. Even the mammoths are having difficulty scenting for water, but there is plenty of wine. Not my wine, the patriarch roared. Woman, you have no idea how hard I work in the vineyard. I do, Japheth commented mildly. I work with you. Oholibama frowned slightly. I don't think wine will do, Japheth said. Higayon sprayed water from Grandfather Lamech's water pot on the sand, and I think it helped. He looked towards Sella, who again was at Matred's feet. Anna glanced out of the corner of her green eye at Pasty Ham and then at Denny's recumbent form. If his skin didn't look like raw meat, he'd be quite gorgeous. Elishaba, Shem's wife, stocky and sensible-looking, with thickly curling black hair and dark placid eyes, snorted. Keep away from him, Anna. You saw that the unicorn went right to him. For all his giant size, he's barely more than a baby, and he's trembling, he's frightened. Matred said fiercely, Whatever, he shall not be ill-treated again. Yalith looked gratefully at her mother. Her father snorted, Women! I'm always being bullied by women and their good works. Matred feeds any lazy beggar who comes to the tent, and Elishaba helps her keep the soup pot full. People do not choose to be poor and hungry, Matred said calmly. We have enough and to spare, husband. I will not have this young giant abused. What do you want with him? Do what you want with him, the patriarch said. It makes no difference to me, as long as I'm not bothered about it. Oholibama looked at her husband. We shouldn't leave him here. It's too hot and crowded. He was near death when the unicorn's light touched him, and I think he's still very ill. Listen to Oholi, Ham said. She knows what she's talking about. For Yalith, no matter what Japheth had said, Denny's was the same young man she had seen in her grandfather's tent. She had been afraid of him when she had first seen him, and now, this time, it was the young giant who seemed terrified. Where can we take him? He's just a child, Oholibama suggested. What about the women's tent? In Yalith's eyes, Sandy, Dennis, was not a child. Elishaba asked, How near to the time of the moon is it for any of us? Matred, who was the one to keep track of such things, drew her brows together in thought, and touched her fingers, counting, Not for a while. Soon he will be well enough to sleep here in the big tent, or he will be dead. Yalith shuddered. Don't say that. He's our guest. We don't let our guests die. My dear, Matred said, he is barely burned. His skin is raw, as though someone has been scraping him like a carrot. And we'll pause there.